Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dragons Are Real podcast. It's Wednesday, that means it's Kickstarter time. And today we've got a shed load of new releases for the last 7 days of Kickstarter. So without further ado, let's get straight into some of the new releases. Up first we've got Heroic Havoc 2, Elements of Justice, a Mutants and Masterminds RPG module where a team of heroes try to stop the kidnapping of a dignitary, and it's adaptable to other game systems. So this is an adventure module designed for Mutants and Masterminds of power levels 10 to 12. So we have a team of superheroes being tasked with secretly guarding the motorcade of visiting foreign dignitary, President for Life Mbenga. Chatter on the dark web hints that a group of self-proclaimed freedom fighters may attempt a kidnapping. Not surprisingly, the motorcade is attacked. The module is 20 pages in length in 8.5 by 11 inches. There's 2 battle scenarios plus numerous role-playing opportunities. There's write-ups of all the antagonists, including illustrations of main opponents, maps of all significant locations. And although written for Mutants and Masterminds, the module should be adaptable to other super-heroic RPG systems. So that is Heroic Havoc number 2, Elements of Justice. Next, we have 4 Horsemen Universe RPG Savage Worlds Edition. Rules of engagement: go into combat in your own personal power armor, explore the 4 Horsemen universe, kill aliens, and get paid. The 4 Horsemen universe was created in December 2016 by Mark Wandry and Chris Kennedy with the launch of Cartwright's Cavaliers. The first 4 novels introduced the 4 Horsemen, the only survivors of the brutal Alpha contracts. These 4 companies flourished to become Earth's premier mercenary companies. In a little more than 4 years, over 60 novels by over a dozen authors have been published in 5 different series, with an additional 9 anthologies fleshing out the universe and expanding the story. Rules of Engagement is a licensed Savage Worlds product, and players will need the Savage Worlds Adventure core rules to play, also known as SWADE. Their goal is to produce at least a 200-page sourcebook utilising the Savage Worlds core rules. Stretch goals will expand the size of the book as they bring in more art and more detail on the 4 Horsemen universe. So that is 4 Horsemen Universe RPG Savage Worlds Edition. Next up we have Into the Motherlands, an original Afrofuturist TTRPG. This is a setting book for Into the Motherlands RPG. This is a sci-fi odyssey. Into the Motherlands sees players landing on the planet of Musela, 1500 years after the Emperor Musa discovered the world on a strange detour to the Americas. The tabletop RPG enables players to become one of the descendants of the Emperor himself, or otherwise choose from one of the cultures occupying Musela, including those that have evolved as a result of human and alien interaction. Throughout their playthrough of Into the Motherlands, players will travel across Musela and learn of its different cultures, as well as encounter the troubles that threaten their way of life. In response, players must figure out a way to enable these societies to continue to survive on their planet. Into the Motherlands uses the Cortex Prime role-playing system that was a Kickstarter a couple of years ago. So that is Into the Motherlands, an original Afrofuturist TTRPG. Next up, we have Campfire Kit launch, a Shape in the Dark TTRPG. In A Shape in the Dark, you play scary campfire stories with your friends in the form of a tabletop role-playing game. A Shape in the Dark is a horror-themed game. The PDF is the core rulebook, and this includes the storyteller tools, or the GM, character building, mechanics, character sheets, and is fully illustrated. The Mayfair map, the lore setting for A Shape in the Dark, and a music album download. With a $5 plus donation, your kit will include a card containing a QR code download of a music album that was made especially for A Shape in the Dark. And the album will have 30 plus minutes of mood setting music crafted by SoundCloud artist Nombre. So that is Campfire Kit launch, A Shape in the Dark TTRPG. Next we have the Stannard Courier Volume 1. This is a DCC RPG compatible full zine full of town locations, NPCs, and rumour tables. So this is the first in a series of zines designed to flesh out Stannard, the town reference, in the Precipice of Corruption adventure module. The first issue details the central buildings of the town, the NPCs that populate them, and the information, attitudes, and affiliations they hold dear. The zine is full of interesting characters, rumour tables and adventure hooks. The zine is an homage to the village of Hamlet, the classic AD&D module written by the late Gary Gygax. And this zine is to be 36 pages, saddle stitch. The interior will be black on white art and the cover will be black on coloured cover stock. That is the Standard Courier Volume 1. Next up we have Fiskborg. This is a brutal and accursed fishing set in the sombre world of Morphborg TTRPG. So this is, as you've guessed it, is a supplement for Morphborg that offers new mechanics to bring sombre fishing into your blood-soaked role-playing sessions. Adapting tools from Richard Carey's RPG Rod, Reel and Fist, Fiskborg unleashes dozens of subaquatic nightmares to those brave or foolish enough to summon them. So it contains rules for fist combat, almost 17 piscine beasts, rods, bait, chum and fishing spots to aid your expeditions, D10 salted stained scrolls to give your cursed magic a nautical twist, the Weary Angler, a new fishing focused player class option, the Drowned Crew, a ghost pirate crew that imprints on solo fishers, helping them with a struggle, and Gifts for Grendel, a complete adventure module to bring fishing into your Morphborg campaign. So that is Fiskborg. Next up we have A Wizard's Dying Wish and Other Tales for the Morphborg RPG. This is a set of trifold brochures created under the third-party Morphborg license, many adventures for the GM to throw at the PCs. The 4 PDF trifold brochures have got the following scenarios: A Wizard's Dying Wish, The Broken Sword of Vile Souls, The Living Statue of Alkborn, and Anzella and the Caged Skulls. So that is A Wizard's Dying Wish and Other Tales for the Morphborg RPG. Next up we have Under Neon. This is a cyberpunk themed tabletop RPG. It's D20 based but different from your typical tabletop RPG in every other way. So the story is 20 years ago there was a plague. It caught the world by surprise and quickly wiped 4% of the population from the face of the earth. Society began to fail. Mishori Tanaka, the head of the Tanaka Corporation, the world's leader in biotechnology, was in development of an experimental nanobot that would help combat the effect of diseases. Many in Tanaka Corporations thought this nanobot, although young in its developmental stages and still an experimental process, could help with the ever-consuming plague. Eventually Tanaka got voted down from his CEO positions, the nanite wasn't ready, and despite succeeding in largely eradicating the plague, it introduced a far worse enemy in humanity that would become known as the Sleeping Death. So as said, this is a D20 system which uses a pass system, not a traditional RPG system where each character has a set class with attributes and abilities. And under Neon, everyone will start essentially the same character and progress along whatever path they choose as they level up. So that is Under Neon. So let's have a look at what's coming out 5e related, or 5th edition D&D. So first one we have is the Halfling Food Festival, an event full of fun, food and even a little intrigue to add to any tabletop role-playing game. This scene gives you everything you need to have your own fully fledged Halfling Food Festival in your game. You can use it as a fun filler session, a way for your players to spend and make some money, or use some of the suggested plot threads and optional dark secrets to make a whole arc or campaign out of it. The contents include a whole bunch of NPCs along with their stats and stalls, rules for selling monsters, parts for food, adventure hooks and plot lead-ins, side quests galore, new potions and magic items, tables to create brand new dishes and delicacies on the fly, new monsters, and a whole set of dark secrets to explore. The ideas can be used in pretty much any system, but there are included stats for 5th edition D&D. So that one is the Halfling Food Festival. Next we have Sandbox Adventures for 5e. This is a collection of 12 plug-and-play adventures for 5th edition. They are designed to be easy to run and can be dropped into any campaign. 9 of the 12 adventures have already been written, play-tested, edited and formatted. And this book is going to be roughly 170 pages, which will include the 12 adventures for levels 1 to 8, 20 new monsters, 10 new magic items, 50 plus virtual tabletop maps, 30 plus NPCs, 75 plus hex PNG files, and 1 new race. So that is Sandbox Adventures for 5e. Next we've got Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride, compatible for DCC and 5e. So this is available for both Dungeon Crawl Classics and 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. There your characters explore the fabled tomb of the accursed mummy bride. So this was inspired by the pulp weird fantasy of Gary Gygax's infamous Appendix N. Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride is designed for a group of 4 to 6 third level characters. Tales of the Accursed Pyramid and the trapful tomb of the infamous Mummy Bride have long been a traveller's tale, passed along by wayward explorers and greedy plunderers alike. Deep within the verdant jungles of the south, amidst a green hell of impenetrable jungle, bloodthirsty cannibals and ancient myth lies the shattered remnants of a once powerful civilization and the terrible gods who ruled over them. Rumours swirl of untold riches and unplundered magic for those brave or foolish enough to claim it. So every level of the temple is fully detailed, along with 2 additional map packs, and the DCC version is different from the 5e version, which was previously released and is released again in this Kickstarter, and has got extra content. So if you like a bit of DCC, then maybe get the DCC version. So that's Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride. Next we've got a Greywalkers Purgatory tabletop RPG for 5e and Weavemaster. This is a modern fantasy RPG set in a supernatural post-apocalyptic world wherein heaven and hell have merged with earth. Think of the Greywalkers world as a combination of modern-day Ravenloft, Innistrad meets World of Darkness meets Mad Max meets Devil May Cry meets The Matrix. If that's not enough crossovers for you, I don't know what will be. So in this game you play as a Greywalker, one of the 36 hidden righteous ones destined to protect and improve and save humanity. Your goal is to help humanity reclaim the world from its supernatural oppressors and to help rebuild humanity into a better and brighter future. So the book is going to be released in 2 different game systems, and the backers will get a choice of which of the 2 books or systems they would like to support. Or if you wish, you can support both of them if you've got enough cash. You have a choice of getting either the 5e compatible version or the system they originally created called the Weavemaster RPG system. So Weavemaster touts itself as a more complicated but robust RPG system designed for those who want to be able to do more things within the game. The system uses an opposed 3d10 system and is the first game to use the Weavemaster system. So that one is Greywalkers Purgatory tabletop RPG. So let's have a look what accessories you can use to bling your games. First, we've got ledges for your RPG tabletop GM screen. This is an easy solution to clearing up the clutter and mess behind your GM screen. Become a GM who lives life on the ledge. Ledges are little clear platforms that slip over the edge of your GM screen, providing an out-of-the-way place for those essential GM accessories. They are clear plastic so you don't miss any of that important information that is printed on the screen, and you can slide them together to create larger ledges or keep them separated for quick access to that one thing you go to time after time. Ledges not only work behind the GM screen, but they also work on the player's side as well. Slip on the ledge and display something that your players need to see for reference, or some shared information that is important to game. So those accessories are called ledges for your RPG tabletop GM screen. Next we've got a Wizard Tower 3D printable STL file, which is pay what you want. So this Kickstarter is a pay what you want campaign, and you can obtain the complete Wizard Tower STL for as little as $1. And for that $1 you get a complete Wizard Tower STL file which you can print for your own personal use, and it's got a nice Wizard's Tower with steps up, a balcony, a pointed roof, your typical little Wizard's Tower. And if you pledge $15 or more, you can use this STL file for commercial use. Also, if you pledge $15 or more, you get 2 extra pieces for those who want to customize the tower without the balcony, or add an extra middle piece. So if you want a little bit more, you pay a little bit more to add onto your Wizard Tower 3D printable STL file. Next up, we've got the Kingdom of Telarius 3D printable 32mm scale miniatures. The Kingdom of Telarius is a fully pre-supported 32mm scale army for use in your favourite fantasy tabletop games. So this army is consists of a number of unique miniatures and all offered pre-supported. It contains 91 unique miniatures including the initial set, and this means that the average price per model is around 55p or 66 cents. If you unlock all the planned stretch goals, this total will increase to 167 minis. Obviously that will halve the price for each mini. The Kingdom of Telarius is a diverse one where all races coexist, ruled over by King Garamond. Citizens drafted in for military service at the age of 18 forms the core military force of the Telarian army. Those become professional soldiers may join the Scouts, one of the Knightly Orders, or even the Royal Bodyguard Regiment called the King's Guard. So do have a look at these miniatures on their Kickstarter. They've got some really fine miniatures, including some of them riding large birds, something similar to a dodo. So check that one out. That's the Kingdom of Telarius 3D printable 32mm scale miniatures. Next, we've got 50 plus tabletop maps for Dungeons and Dragons or any RPG. So this is a collection of fantasy dungeon battle maps for your tabletop RPG, usable on virtual tabletop platforms and physically. All 50 plus maps are in two forms. They are in black and white and parchment style. There's your dungeon battle map, your description of symbols on the map, and room to add your notes on them. All maps are in high resolution at 300 ppi-dpi, and you will receive a PDF and JPEG files. So that is 50 plus tabletop maps for Dungeons and Dragons or any RPG. Next, we've got Kraken Fantasy Dungeons. This is a printable modular system and miniatures for tabletop games, board games, war games, 3D print terrain, STL files, dungeon crawler, 28mm. Yes, there's a lot in that subheading. So tiles are divided into 30mm squares, as they believe that this is a standard unit and works with most gaming systems. They have created tiles for any combination of squares to make them compatible with as many game systems as possible. It contains walls and simple versions, and every tile has two versions. One with vertical elements to simulate walls, and another one without the walls to simulate a more flat game board. It's got a simple hooking system that they call a simple hitch that they've designed to allow the pieces to be attached in a simple but at the same time very firm way, stopping them from moving around and facilitating the creation of the dungeons as the characters discover them. So check out Kraken Fantasy Dungeons and have a look at some of their terrain that they've got there. Next, we've got Stone Realm, hard plastic multi-part dwarves in 28mm scale. So the Stone Realm is a complete new range of hard plastic multi-part models for dwarves in 28mm heroic scale, and the objective of this campaign is to release 5 different sets of dwarf miniatures: warriors, hammerers, arquebusiers, crossbowmen, and rumbuck riders. All the 3D models are in 28mm scale, so that is 28mm from foot to eyes of the human models. They're multi-part, so you can get lots of different types of poses, and in hard plastic. So that is Stone Realm hard plastic multi-part dwarves in 28mm scale. Next, we've got RPG Adventure 3D printable treasure chests. So these are 3D printable treasure chests for download in STL file format. This is a set of 12 treasure chests that have a hollow interior, so you can place small items in them, and they're all of different designs, so you can have different types of chests on your table. So check out RPG Adventure 3D printable treasure chests. Next, we've got Monsters of Solan fantasy monster miniatures. These are entertaining fantasy monster miniatures crafted in the spirit of old school imaginative creatures for tabletop role-playing games, painters and collectors. They are 28mm plastic miniatures, and there's 70 figures in the core set. It comes with a companion 200-page PDF setting of distinct districts and has a detailed setting with NPC adventure quests. Solan is a world court just outside the idyllic realm of Good Elysium. Adventure among the migrated Guardians here on Solan to hone their skills and fight the forces of evil that find domain outside the nations of light. Travel across the Barrier Sea to see the lands not bathed in Palor's warm, defend the innocent and good from a building threat of darkness and war. And as with the other ones, you've got to check these out. They've got a Sharkin Bear, which is a bear with 2 sharks for claws. There's various lizard folk, turtle folk, cat folk, shrooms, a good big old dragon, and some townsfolk. So that one is Monsters of Solan Fantasy Monster Miniatures. So what about some dice? Well, next up we've got Groovy Dice, mid-century inspired stone RPG dice. These are designer crushed stone dice sets for tabletop gaming. They are crushed turquoise and stone dice sets inspired by retro designs of the 60s and 70s. Yes, sadly that is my youth. This new line of premium stone dice that captures the bright colours and aesthetics of the mid-century. The dice are made from crushed turquoise, crushed stone, brilliant coloured dyes, and stabilised with resin to create these unique, exciting colour palettes. So check out Groovy Dice, mid-century inspired stone RPG dice, but keep them away from children in case they eat them. They look like sweeties to me. And the final one we've got for today's show is World of Valkyrie Fantasy STL Wave 2. So the World of Valkyrie Fantasy STL are 3D printable models compatible with all your tabletop games. And this comes with 248 STA files at completion, and you also get access to the first wave Kickstarter. And in this set, there's dragons, mermaids, giants, unique creatures, building. Many of the 3D STL files have highly detailed miniatures and scenery. There's also rules and all the content to play their board game called Zombie Eat Them All, which was released with the Wave 1 pledge. There's rules, cards, and all you need to play in their skirmish game Ashtrays. There's amazing battle maps in HD files to bring your game to life, and a complete art book with their concept arts used to sculpt their miniatures, which will go out with the second wave. So that one is World of Valkyrie Fantasy STL Wave 2. So as you can see, there's been an awful lot of RPG releases in the last 7 days. They're really churning them out, and it's been a chore just to keep on top of this. So check out next week. Remember, next week on Wednesday, I'll have a look at all the latest Kickstarters. Thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. You've been listening to the Dragons Are Real podcast. For more information, check out the website at petejones.neocities.org. The blog is dragonsarerealpodcast.tumblr.com. We are also on YouTube, Facebook and other platforms. If you want to get in touch, you can send me a voicemail via the Anchor app at anchor.fm/dragonsarereal, or you can send me an email at dragonsarerealpodcast@pm.me.